Make a Path presents Let's Talk. Let's Talk. Better Call Saul, Season 1, Episode 6, 5-0. Alright guys, I thought this was actually a very good episode, and before I go any further, if I'm correct from what I got from this episode, it looks like Mike is a Philly cop, and Mike's son was murdered by two other cops, so Mike sets those cops up. He gets wounded in the process, but he kills those two cops. And then he moves all the way out to where his daughter-in-law is. And I think that speaks a lot to Mike's character. And I'm not sure if that was ever brought up in Breaking Bad. If it was, I didn't remember it. But I thought that spoke volumes to Mike's character, the fact that he came out and he's helping out with his granddaughter and his daughter-in-law. The interesting thing about that is if you go back and rewatch his last confrontation with Walter White in Breaking Bad, it actually adds another layer onto that. You react differently now, because I went back and watched it. I thought it was interesting, so I went back and watched that episode, and it really does add a layer in a way. You know, you still have respect for Walter White. You see it in a different light, is all I'm saying. But the reason for that is because it was a very powerful message, what it was sending. The first thing I want to get to is the end of this episode. That was a very powerful scene that Jonathan Banks did. I think he did a wonderful job. You just saw the pain and just the heartbreak in his eyes. And he didn't even have to do much more than that. Just acting through the eyes. And I love that. I think that's one of the best techniques. Another actor, Leonardo DiCaprio, he does that amazingly well. There's a handful of actors that they act through the eyes, and I absolutely love that. And that's what he gave us. That performance was just amazing. And it even, as a father myself, I even started getting choked up when he said, I broke my son. It's the acting through the eyes, the delivery, the story. It was a perfect episode. It was a perfect monologue. It fit him, and it fit in its placement in this world as far as meeting Saul and having Saul's little cameo in this Mike episode, because that's what it was. Saul had a cameo in a Mike episode, and this is very much the definition of a standalone episode. This one episode tells a portion of Mike's life. And you don't need to watch the other 5 episodes to understand this one episode. You might have some questions here and there, you know, about the lawyer, how did he meet the lawyer, you know what I'm saying? But it's irrelevant. You can watch this episode by itself and understand the story and understand what's going on. And again, you will have some questions, but you'll still understand it. And for a Breaking Bad fan that's not into Better Call Saul, if you happen to stumble upon this review, I will tell you, you can watch episode 6 if you have no interest in Better Call Saul, and you will develop an interest, or a liking, I should say, instead, for this episode, because it's very much Breaking Bad. And I wanted to avoid talking about Breaking Bad in these reviews as much as I can, and I'm going to, but I do want to bring up a point right now that I thought was very good with this episode in particular. We all know there's going to be people who are not comfortable with the Better Call Saul. I know a couple people have told me they just weren't interested in the spin-off. I really think this episode is a game changer for some, not all, but some of those fans who were on the fence. If you were on the fence about Better Call Saul, I guarantee for the most part, this episode knocked you off the fence and you're invested now. Maybe you'll go back, watch the other 5 episodes, catch up, get to where we are at now, and you'll probably be more invested than you were before as far as your interest level. You know what I'm saying? Because there were some people that just was not interested in the spinoff. So the placement of this episode in Season 1 was great. The story it told, the pacing. For a large part there, when he first walked in with the maxi pads, I was confused. I didn't know the timeline. I don't know how many of you were confused, or maybe it was just me. I wasn't processing it right. But I didn't get it. In the beginning, I didn't know where we were at in the story, timeline-wise. I didn't understand where we were. You know, I didn't even know what town we were in when he first walked in. I mean, given I probably could have looked at, you know, somewhere on the screen, I'm sure it said it on a bus or a train or something. But I wasn't looking for that. I didn't know I had to look for that. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of watching Mike, you know, because he has that energy where you want to watch him and see what he does. So I wasn't scanning the atmosphere. But then later on in the episode, like 3/4 of the way through, they show show how his wound matches up, and then everything clicks. I do want to say I felt like they were going to stretch it out longer, and I was kind of a little bit proud of myself because 20 minutes into the episode, when him and his daughter-in-law have a conversation, I immediately put it together. I was like, oh, you know what? This and this and this, and I was like, I was building up this whole. I even wrote it down. I'm like, guys, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen in the next episode. But they played everything out in this episode, and all in all, I thought it was a wonderful episode. The acting, the pacing, the character development we got in it. The character development was so good. Like I said, it actually affects a completely different show, and that's Breaking Bad. If you watch this episode and go and then watch Breaking Bad, you will look at Mike differently. Especially if you've never seen Breaking Bad before, because I've seen Breaking Bad now like 3 or 4 times, the complete, all the way through, a complete rewatch of the episodes of the entire season, and I look at Mike different now after this. And I'm curious if you guys feel the same way. So please leave your opinions and ideas down in the comments below. As far as predictions, my predictions for last episode is pretty much going to carry over as far as, seeing more of Saul and his interactions, obviously, with his business. It looks like the other couple is coming back that Saul took the money from, and they're putting Saul in a tight spot. It looks like they're asking for the money back because they need all the money accounted for. So now we got more conflict coming to Saul. So I'm very interested to hear what you guys thought of this episode. Please leave all your opinions and comments in the section down below, because I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.